Okay, everybody, welcome back. Appreciate you guys being here for our loan media availability today. Just as a reminder, please announce yourself when you ask a question. And with that, I'll open it up to Coach Harbaugh.
All right, good to see everybody. Appreciate you being here. Just continuing with our process right now, honing in on the game. We're getting closer. Our guys are getting excited about that. You can feel it at practice, and that's really the update for now. We're just continuing this morning with meetings, workouts, and we're heading over to the stadium this afternoon. So I think we're kind of excited about that as well.
Hey, Coach, I'm here with Rays Media. It seems like this year, the prevailing thought coming into training camp was that the rookies were going to have to kind of drink from a fire hose, make up for lost time, and kind of have a steep learning curve to get ready for the season. But even with that, you've had a number of guys who look like they're ready to play, really significant roles. How impressed have you been with this rookie class and the way they've handled all of that this offseason, this camp?
Yeah, that's been a real plus, no doubt, Garrett. We did spend a lot of time in the offseason with the Zoom meetings. I think that was very good for them, and then we built it up with the conditioning. In the conditioning periods, we were able to have walkthroughs and lots of meeting time. So we really did a lot of mental work with those guys. Our coaches, I have to give our coaches a lot of credit. There's a lot of grinding that went on to get those guys ready, and those guys really responded to it. It is a group that really does love football, so they've worked hard, and they're doing a good job. They for the most part as a group, they really know what they're doing, and they seem to be mentally prepared in terms of assignments at this point.
Hey, John, Bo Smolka with Press Box. Related to that, we talked to Tyree Phillips back when he was drafted, and he said he had not played guard at all until, I think, the Senior Bowl. And now he's come in and, having no OTAs, having no mini camp, having really not on the field until August. What have you seen from him in terms of what's made him stand out and gotten to the point where he's played the way he has?
Well, yeah, Bo. I mean, he's just done a good job. He's a good football player. I think that's the main thing. We saw the ability to play guard or tackle. I think he can play on the right side or the left side. He's just a really kind of a versatile type of a player. He's a good athlete. He bends well. Smart, very smart. Comes from a great family. Got a really good demeanor about him. I don't think he doesn't get down on himself at all. He really just pushes through it and learns from his mistakes. So all those things probably contribute, and I think we have a versatile offensive line too, Bo. If you look at our guys, you probably have noticed we've been moving all those guys around in different spots, so it helps us to determine really how we want to go into the first game, but it also is going to bode well for the future, having flexibility to move guys around when needed to different positions.
Thanks.
Hey, John. Kirk McEwen from 98 Rock. Your scouts, to their credit, have been able to find those hidden gems for years and years. I'm wondering, is there an undrafted free agent or two that has flashed for you? Does the streak continue, or do you know yet?
Don't know yet. I mean, it's a good question. It's just we don't know yet. There's guys that are doing well. This year, I think something to really bear in mind is that the practice squad is probably just going to be as important or more important than ever. So being on the practice squad this year, in my mind, is like making the team. I think most teams are going to really want to hold on to their guys for their practice squad because they know the system. They're kind of schooled up now in the offense and defense, and you have to assume that there's a possibility that those guys will have to be playing any given week. You can bring two guys up each week from your practice squad to actually play. So making the practice squad in many ways is like making the team this year with the new rules. So it's kind of interchangeable this year a little bit.
And John, this is Jameson for ESPN. Along those lines, and I'm sure this is a question that's better for Eric, but we don't get to talk to Eric. For this weekend, when there are cut downs, do you feel that there will be fewer trades, fewer waiver claims because of the protocol? Because once you get a guy, you don't know how long it's going to be until he clears, travels, and can participate with the team.
It really is a good point, and that has to be all factored in. I know Eric has given that a lot of thought. He's taken me through some of his thinking on that. They've built a lot of contingencies, but it makes it just tougher to move players around for sure. There's no question about that. So I do think that'll factor in to people's thinking to some degree, and we'll just have to see, to what degree and how much and how.
Coach, it's Jerry from The Fan. I know you outlined a little bit about your plans for today. Is this, like, I know it's not going to be a scrimmage, but what are you looking to get at it today? Is this because this is, I guess, presumably the final visit before the big day and the season begins?
Well, I mean, there are a number of things. We're gonna have our guys catching punts and catching kickoffs, catching passes, throwing passes in a 1 o'clock environment in our stadium, which we play the first game at 1 o'clock. So that's a piece. The other part of it is something that we would do, especially in a training camp without preseason games, an emphasis on situations and substitutions, operating the game, making sure we have a good idea of how we're going to sub in and out games and get the right guys in our depth charts and who for what and any contingencies that could come up, and also game situations that would come up probably in the 4 preseason games more often. Guys would have a better feel for how to operate on the sideline. Just kind of those kind of things that you don't get a chance to work as much in a preseason without preseason games.
Are you going to use any effects in terms of noise or the scoreboard or clocks or anything of that nature, Coach?
Yeah, we'll do a little bit of that. I'm not going to use probably the scoreboard quite as much, but we'll probably have some noise out there. That we're still kind of testing that a little bit. We're still waiting on the protocols, Jerry. We don't really know for sure what we're going to be permitted to do in our stadium or how it's going to work in other stadiums for sure. All that stuff seems like it's evolving all the time.
Hey, John, Pete Gilbert here. It seems that the NFL will allow fans, though, for some teams that if their states do allow it. Do you think that's a disadvantage for teams that don't allow it? Do you think it should be one standard for all 32?
Yeah, no, I don't think it should be one standard. Doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. I mean, I think every situation is a little bit different. Every team will decide what's best, and how it works the best for their, their environment, where they're at geographically, whatever. And their kind of their philosophy and their stance on it just a little bit too, I suppose. So we can't really worry about that from a football standpoint. We're going to go out and the thing that's going to matter the most, Pete, is who plays the best. Whoever plays the best and executes is going to be the team that wins the game. I don't think it's going to matter on whether there's a few thousand fans in the stands or no fans. It's going to be the team that plays the best football still.
Hey, John.
Hey, John, it's WNST. I know you said you wanted to see the tape of Matt Skura after the scrimmage. How did he look in that setting? And do you feel like he's where he needs to be, both physically and from a performance level based on his past standard?
Well, we still have a little more time to determine that, and we have a couple more. We have more practices, so we'll keep looking at that. He did well. He had no hiccups, no issues, and we're just going to keep pushing him forward with some more challenging things each day, and we'll know by next week, where he's at. It really, Matt will know where he's at, as much as anything. He's the guy who's in that body, and the knee's attached to him, so we'll see how he's doing with it as we get close to the game.
Hey, John, this is Aaron Cousins at Penn Life. Sort of in that vein, have you decided on a starting offensive line? And just more generally, these next couple practices, are you still having those competitions, or do you feel like you've honed in sort of on certain situations like that?
Right. We were honed in pretty well, I would say. There's still some things we need to talk about. We have a couple more practices before game week, so we'll be there game week. I'm sure we'll be there game week, but I wouldn't say we're 100% there yet.
John, this is Jeff Rebeck from The Athletic. We're used to seeing Patrick Ricard move around the field and do a lot of different things. Obviously, he's been on offense this year, strictly. What have you seen from him? And I know he did some tight end stuff last year, but what have you seen from him in his development in that role as well?
Yeah, he's grown. He played some tight end stuff last year, like you said. So I think he keeps expanding his inline stuff, his motion, lining up even as a wide receiver out there. He's been in all those types of situations in training camp, just like all of our guys do. Really nowadays, if you're talking to a coach, they'll tell you the tight end, the H-back, the U-back, the fullback, those guys become more interchangeable than ever. Those positions, you can do the same things with different personnel groups on the field, and it just takes a little different flavor on because of the type of athlete you put in those spots. But they end up still being the same types of jobs. But the defense has to deal with it differently because of who's out there and the type of player they are. So Pat gives us a lot of flexibility there. He's very different than a lot of players who play those positions. So he's been learning more and growing, and I always like Pat. I think Pat's a heck of a football player.
Hey, Coach Sean Stepner, WMAR ABC Baltimore. I was just wondering, with by what we're looking at the schedule for training camp that we got, today, like Jerry had mentioned, is the last day. It looks like that you guys are going to get out to the stadium to practice. Is that true? And if you don't like what you see today at the stadium, could you guys pull an audible and just kind of go back there? Obviously next week is game week, and that usually wouldn't be the case. But I mean, could you go back there this weekend or something if you don't like what you see today?
That's not the plan. I wouldn't see that. It's not really that kind of practice, really, Sean. It's just more of a, like we said, situational substitution, operational, fast practice, somewhat like an in-season Friday type of a practice. So it's execution, timing, those kind of things. So it wouldn't be anything that would bring us back to the stadium before the game. This will be the last time we'll be there. Last time we'll need to be there, I think. I know, and we'll be ready to go. It's somewhat similar to if we'd have played a preseason game at home on Thursday, which would be tomorrow. It'd be kind of the similar type of a format, as far as being in the stadium.
All right, guys, 2 more for Coach.
Coach, it's Jerry again. I did have a question about the NFL coming out with the rule yesterday. I don't know if you're opposed to it. I know no one likes wearing a mask, but they're requiring all non-player personnel to wear masks on the sidelines. So that means you don't have to hold the clipboard, I guess, in front of your face anymore. Is that kind of an advantage in that respect? Do you look at it that way?
I feel like, now you kind of look at like, why didn't we think of this before? We wouldn't have had to do that. We just should have been wearing masks all along to hide us. But then where would we be with the don't they put that lip sync thing out every year? It's going to kill that industry. They're dead this year, obviously. So at least the coaches. But yeah, it's all right. It's a little hard to communicate. Sometimes that mask gets you breathe it in. Sometimes when you're breathing heavy, which can happen during a game. It gets a little tense out there. So it's part of it. We've dealt with it. We've worn our masks in meetings. Sometimes, you hear what, huh? More than you want to hear. You really have to enunciate. Hopefully we're better communicators, but it's the way it works. We're happy to be playing football. We're excited to be playing football. And I'm really proud of the league, and I'm proud of the players, and proud of the union. DeMaurice and his people, proud of them, proud of everybody for doing what it takes to get football, to get it played. Everybody wanted to play, and with that, I'll throw a little controversy out there. I'm on. This is my position. I say free the Big Ten. Free the Big Ten. Let's go. Let's go play some football. Let's get Michigan and Ohio State and all those great teams playing some football out there. Michigan had 0 positive tests in August. They're doing a great job with their protocols, and those guys want to play. And for anybody that wants to opt out, they can. They can. Their families should have that choice, just like the Southeast Conference gave the players and families in the Southeast Conference that choice, and most of them, as you know, decided to play as a family. So I think the Big Ten players and families should have that same choice. So I'm on record. There you go. You got it. Free the Big Ten. They can wear masks too, Jerry, to your question. They can wear masks on the sideline.
Jimena Lugo La Torre from Ravens Spanish Radio. Coach, you say that it's a fast practice. So what can affect your judgment on picking out your players for the final roster?
Well, it's an ongoing process for sure to pick the team. And as you know, the roster cuts, as you said, are coming up here by Saturday. And we'll have some difficult decisions to make. Some of that carries over to the practice squad. There are certainly some, that Eric has to really think through, and his staff, in terms of strategic moves you make, in terms of, where guys are at with their contracts, and other teams possibly claiming players or not claiming players. Those are all things that come into Eric's thinking on that. So we'll just have to see how it goes. And we like our guys as coaches. We really love our players, and we're excited to coach them, and we'll see what direction it goes. We'll certainly have conversations, and Eric and Ozzie have always done a great job, including the coaches' input and thinking very heavily on what the coaches are looking for. I think we work really well together that way, and I know that'll be the same. We've already had those conversations. So it'll be interesting. Not everything has been decided. Much has, but not everything has. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, and I'll be right there with you.
All right, Coach, appreciate your time. To the media corps, thank you, and we will see you around the same time here tomorrow. Thanks again.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.